That's how lonely we are, that we're going on here and seeking validation from strangers.
We love seeing the people that we think have everything get destroyed.
Privacy is dead.
I've all broken in my life.
I've never wanted to die more.
The end game for these people, I think, is going to be sad.
The age of the digital influencer, it's going to crash.
What if you woke up tomorrow and you had no followers? Can you go back to being yourself?
I have a feeling I'm going to find out. Let's start the show.
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I am Tom Merritt, and he is the co-host I want, Brian Brushwood.
Heck yeah, man. And that was the American Meme. Bryce, can you tell us a little bit about this, gem?
Yeah, this is a feature-length documentary following some of the character stories, the lifestyles, and possible futures of some of the mimetic celebrities you might know. Paris Hilton's in this, the Fat Jew, the Instagram guy, DJ Khaled, former Vine star Brittany Ferlin is on here. Some of the reviews that I saw call it maybe entry level, maybe a little soft in the teeth. Maybe it doesn't get all the hard-hitting questions.
Interesting.
But I do think it's
soft in the teeth.
Is that not
like something that's going to happen to me when I'm 70?
Well, but it reminds me, it seems to occupy some similar space to John Ronson's So You've Been Publicly Shamed, which I thought was an excellent book. So if it's anything like that, then I'm 100% all in.
Yeah.
Do you know where I heard about that book, So You've Been Publicly Shamed, Brian?
Was it from me?
No, it was from one of my other awesome co-hosts who's a guest on this show, Veronica Belmont.
Huzzah!
Hello. How's it going?
Oh my gosh, it has been far, far too long since we've been able to hang out and do a show together, Veronica. It's so good to see you again.
I am happy to be here. And by the way, influencers are out. Micro-influencers are in.
Oh, like those 17-year-old illegal vape influencers. Dudes doing all the puffy tricks and then like denying that they're using nicotine-fueled Juul thing.
I think we're on
there's a
different
Vice story.
Instagrams, but sure. Yes.
He's on Vapestagram.
Vapestagram!
Yeah, so Brian, you're too popular. Sorry, it's micro-influencers.
Oh, thank goodness. I've been waiting for this moment.
Yes, and we have been waiting for this moment to have Veronica back on the show. It's very good to have you. So let's get right into our primary target. Very simple premise, but one that we haven't seen any of the big streaming providers do yet. Variety reports that Hulu and AT&T both plan to introduce technology that will stream ads when you pause. So when you stop, when you go walk away, or you stop to look something up, whatever, when you pause, that's when the ad comes. Now, we don't know if there'll also be ads in the breaks or not, or whether you're on the Hulu plan without ads, whether it would do this. But AT&T's Matt Van Houten likened it to a screensaver and said it could even include interactive ads. How do we feel about this?
Well, one of the reasons why I pause content in the first place is because I don't want sound. So like, I'm not sure how that would work. Do I now have to press not only the pause button, but now also the mute button to like take a phone call or talk to somebody or do something like that? I understand the idea if it covered this where it played ads when I would hit pause so I could like walk away and go to the bathroom and come back and then not be interrupted by ads otherwise. Yeah, sure. I guess I could put the effort forth.
Well, so let's go in half steps, right? Let's say that it plays, but it's visual only and there is no audio. In that, let's take him at its word that it is like a screensaver where it's like you hit pause and then something comes up and you happen to see out of the corner of your eye the word Tide Pods or whatever. How is that a mortal or a venial sin in both of your opinions?
If there was no audio, I think I might be okay with it.
I hadn't thought about the audio part of this because that could be troubling if you're pausing to answer the door or take a phone call or something like that. I feel like I am not usual, but I am the target of the person who would love this if it replaced ads that otherwise would come up.
Right. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
I'm thinking particularly about The Simpsons on the FX app, where even though I'm signed in with my PlayStation Vue credentials, it's going to play ads. If instead of that happening, I'm a frequent pauser. I pause because I'm like, oh, I want to go get a drink. Or I pause like, oh, I forgot to do something. I pause a lot when I'm watching stuff alone. And if ads played when I was doing that, that would be fine. Now, I know the immediate objection is like, yeah, but if you're busy walking away, going to the bathroom, doing other stuff, how effective are those ads? Those ads have been effective for decades. They seep in. They get into you when you don't think they're there. So I think it would be effective.
Also, you know what? That sounds like a them pee, not a me pee problem.
Yes. So
Well, but it's a them P, it's a UP if they decide, oh wait, we can't make any money off this because the ads aren't effective, and then it goes away.
So here's what I hope. Number one, I have no sympathy, no cares about AT&T doing this on all of their cable stuff. You dance with the devil that brought you, right? It's like you're the one who picked up a Scorpion. You paid full price for cable, which is a giant fire hose of ads anyway. So what? You got more ads, whatever. I have no sympathy for you. If you don't like cable, get out of cable. Hulu, I'm going to even extend that to where it's like, okay, you don't want to spend the money for the premium. Hulu, again, you're going to dance with the rad scorpion that brung you. And then, but if you're paying money for Hulu, that's a non-starter, man. Like if I'm paying money for Hulu, and keep in mind, I would say 70% of all the pausing I do is because something challenging enough is happening in the Hearthstone game that I'm playing while watching something that I need everything to shut up for a second while I figure out this move. And if there's suddenly if suddenly ads are barking at me, we're going to have a real problem.
Yeah. Using pause as mute is a user case for this that needs to be addressed.
Right. Like if I'm watching some vaping Instagrammers, some influencers, for example, and I just need to pause for a second, 30 seconds or so I can watch the whole video.
Well, plus also
It's
you're
important.
pausing so you can see the heart-shaped vape circles they're making.
So I can see the sick clouds.
Exactly.
That's what the
Sick
kids
clouds.
say. That's what the kids say.
Old people say sick cloud atlas. I don't know where I was going with that.
And they're referring to the book, not the movie.
That's
Yeah,
right,
for real.
because they're elitist old people. I on the one hand, this feels inevitable. On the other hand, it feels like there is a clear line of delineation. If you're spending money for what you expect to be an ad-free experience, and you better believe there's going to be righteous anger if you don't deliver that.
I think Hulu has to keep this off their ad-free tier. But if it's a service that you're already paying for that has ads, like Hulu has a tier with limited ads, that would be cool if Hulu converted it and said, oh, but our ads only show up when you pause. That would be interesting. Don't forget AT&T also means Warner Media. Warner Media is going to launch their own streaming service. So it could play into that where you're like, hey, you're paying two amounts, same as Hulu. There's one with limited ads and one with no ads, and the one with limited ads plays the ads when you pause. But whatever it is, it's all about if I'm paying for no ads, this better not happen. And if this is happening in addition to ads that I'm already expecting, should it reduce the other kinds of ads that I get?
If I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second, I'm going to say that ad-advocate. I'm going to say that if what you want is the ability to access more content free, this is an effective tool to help make that possible. We talked about the possibility of, Netflix having an ad-free tier. We talked about the fact that Hulu makes so much content available, essentially, free outside of putting up with ads. Then, in a weird way, if you're a fan of free entry tiers, then this seems like an effective way to get that.
Well, I don't understand because I pay for Hulu, or I did pay for Hulu, and I still had to watch ads. Is that what you're talking about, Tom? Like limited ads?
There's 3 tiers of Hulu. If you pay $8.99, you get a limited number of ads. If you pay $11, and these numbers may be off, but it's roughly right. If you pay $11, you get no ads.
Okay, got it.
And then you've got the free,
There's no free anymore. They got rid of that.
They got rid of the free. Got it.
There's no free Hulu. As they say, there's no free Hulu in this town.
Yeah, thank you, Milton Friedman.
There's no such thing as a free Hulu, is another way to put it. Tons the Hulu. Anyway, I just realized there's also the other end of this, which is you pause, you do your thing, you come back, you can't unpause because it's still playing a commercial.
Oh, or what about this? What about you pause and you come back and it won't resume without playing a 15-second commercial? Like you pay the pause penalty.
Right.
That would
Either
be
way,
awful.
like being able to unpause when I want must be an important part of this. I can't be stuck in the ad.
I've had that on the Hulu
that's
Live
devious.
TV where I'll change channels and it won't want to scut me back to live TV.
Yes.
And because it's a sports show, it doesn't have the right ad breaks. So I will switch to another channel. It will tell me I'm watching an ad, but I have to. But I'm watching like 10-minute old footage because I can't skip ahead because it says I'm watching an ad.
Oh,
No,
jeez.
And so it's like you got to figure that out first before you start putting ads in the pauses.
Yeah, that's right, because you don't get. I guess part of the this is Hulu specifically. I suppose
This was
part of
my experience with Hulu TV.
So Hulu live streaming sports is not a DVR experience, so you do not get the rights to jump backwards or forwards.
You could, but
as you like.
Well, it depends
could,
on whether
but
it's actual DVR or on demand.
Right.
Right, and this was DVR. After the commercial break was over, I could jump back to present, but I couldn't while I was sitting through this minute-long ad, which was just an overlay over this old footage.
Yeah. Well, we don't have ads on this show, Brian.
Yeah, man.
That's why we don't make any money off the show.
Well, we make some money, but I'm glad you brought this up. Of course, you guys, you beautiful, beautiful patrons, 5 years ago made us loud, live, and independent as we went completely free of any networks whatsoever, without ads. Thanks to the 1,398 people currently supporting us at patreon.com/Cordkillers. I don't relish having to say this, but we make budgets and plans based on an expectation of stuff, and it's embarrassing to say we're exactly $27 below our budgeted expectations per episode. So if you're on the fence, if you have enjoyed the program, if you want to jump in, if you have a buck to spare, we sure would love it. Just head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. We just need $27 more per episode to keep us on track and on budget, and it would mean a lot to us.
I just apropos of nothing found out that you can I could sell my pinky toe for $27.
Oh, no, don't, Tom. We've talked about this. That will work for exactly 10 weeks, and then we're really up against the same budgetary
Only
crisis again.
It's a pinky toe.
Oh, that's true.
I've got two pinkies.
Okay, well then maybe is roast
You guys
beef
each have
worth more than pinky toe?
I'm not saying I'm going to do it. It just struck me the similarity between them.
Okay.
Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Please allow me to continue to walk, and let's talk about how to watch. Okay, so there's this weird thing that I don't understand where millennials like to watch the show Friends, but there's also this thing where they freaked out when it looked like Netflix was going to lose access to Friends. It's not going to happen. Settle down, put down your avocado toast, you relax. Netflix is going to continue to have Friends, all right? I will try to pack in a few more stereotypes before the end of this description. Netflix is going to pay Warner Media $100 million to renew its rights to stream Friends through the end of 2019. Now, after 2019, Warner Media can either pull Friends from Netflix and run it exclusively on its own service, or it will have the option, according to Recode, to keep running it non-exclusively, where Netflix would pay $75 million. So they'd get a discount in order to keep running it, but non-exclusively. So Warner Media could also run it on their service. So if you're having a hard time wrapping your head around it, $100 million for Netflix to get Friends for the next year. And then after that, Warner Media can either decide to keep it for its Warner Media streaming service or share it with Netflix, but it would have to give Netflix a discount. We now turn to businessman and video maker Brian Brushwood to explain why this is either really stupid or really smart for Warner Media to do.
Okay, I have to work almost entirely on hypotheticals here. And so are you familiar with what a Fermi problem is? A Fermi problem is you work in generalities, and in general, if you're right within an order of magnitude, then you're right. So
is that like the Fermi paradox about aliens?
Correct. Similar to that. Fermi used to love to come up with all these crazy questions.
Yeah. Same Fermi. Okay.
But so in this case, I want you to imagine we're at DragonCon, right? We just finished a panel. We say, how many of you guys, 100 of you, stand up who have Netflix? We stand up. And then you say, how many of you are currently working your way through the Friends back catalog? How many out of 100 hands do you think go up? Tom, Veronica?
15.
Yeah, okay, 15. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and say 1. just one hand goes up, right? With I believe we're definitely more than 138 million subscribers in the United States, because that was last quarter for Netflix. So let's just round it up and say now we're at 150 million, right? So that would be 1% of them would be 1.5 million subscribers, right? Separate vector. And again, this is a postulate that I'm going to have to assume here. Let's say that statistically speaking, people who are in the middle of working their way through a back catalog are very unlikely to cancel their subscription midway through. And I can vouch for that because every time I drive my daughter to school, she watches and I listen to an episode of The Office. It's been nearly a year now that we've been going through this, 4 days a week, and it's part of our ritual. It's baked in. If they were to cancel The Office, I would be very, very upset, and I would have to rethink whether or not I want to stick with my Netflix subscription, because the first thing I would think of is, well, I guess I'll just buy the whole back catalog of The Office, and then the next thought would be, where am I going to find that in the budget? Oh, I know. How about I cancel that money that used to be being spent on that, right? So if we're going for what, $8 a month, is that what streaming is right now?
Netflix is more like 10.
Well, it's one of the major plans.
Well, let's say 10 for simplicity, right? That's
Okay.
$15 million a month. And if you figure it takes about a year to work your way through the catalog, that is what? That is $175 million of guaranteed insurance to keep people on the hook, as if everything I said is accepted as fact. Likewise, imagine if they cancel that halfway through, how much are they going to lose? And all of a sudden, it makes a lot of sense to keep that back catalog, because I would imagine everybody who is, and again, this is all working on the idea that just 1% of the American fan base happens to be working their way through the Friends back catalog. And if you cancel midway, I think that they're going to lose enough money that it's worth it to just write that check for $100 million.
Well, why not just write the check for $75 million? Like, if people are already on Netflix and they're already watching Friends that way, who cares if they don't have exclusivity? Like, nobody's going to be like, I'm going to sign up for whatever Warner Brothers is doing.
And that's the idea.
That call. Warner Media makes that call. And that's the other question is it smart for Warner Media to let Netflix have that option, or should they just shut it down after this year and say, forget it, Friends is all ours?
So this is there's a name for this problem among economists. What they'll do, freshman year economic students will oftentimes be given T-shirts, or this will be a class-wide experience. They'll give everyone mugs and T-shirts that say, the name of the university, and they'll say, hey, those are all worth, however many dollars. And they say, now you have the option to sell it at a certain price or buy it from your neighbor next to you. This is half of the audience is given something. And the people who are buying it always give much, much lower prices, like maybe $3 for a mug, as opposed to the people selling it ask for $7 or $8 for a mug. So in this case, the perceived pain of something being taken away is so great. So in other words, it might make sense to both Netflix to overpay to keep Friends so that they're not giving the pain of taking something away from their subscribers. And at the same time, it might make sense for Warner Media to not push too hard to have the exclusivity, because they know that while people like Friends, they're not going to love it so rabidly that they're going to pay a whole bunch of money and drop Netflix to go sign up for Warner Media.
Well, but that's the question, right? Is if Warner Media is thinking Friends is the way people find their streaming service, that's a problem. If Warner Media thinks, oh, we're going to have a lot of great originals on this service because we're going to be able to include all this DC stuff that our movie studio makes, and we're going to be developing these amazing originals, then they want Friends to force that question to be like, hey, we have all this great stuff, plus now we're the only place for Friends. That's what FX has been doing with Simpsons. But what this sounds like is they're leaving the door open to, hey, our streaming service may not be that good, so we'll still need that fat stack of cash from Netflix in either way.
Well, but also it could be the kind of thing where they're not competing in a zero-sum game against Netflix, where it's like, give up Netflix so that you can have Friends with us. But instead, it's just like, hey, man, we've got all these great originals. Oh, plus also we have Friends as well. And so now, let's say the only thing keeping you in the Netflix ecosystem is that you're midway through this watch of Friends. You're like, okay, well, I can press pause on that and do the other, or
that's a really
do
good
both.
Point. Yeah. Also, if Warner Media reboots Friends.
Oh, or does a spinoff. Call it Joey's son, also Joey.
No, I want to see a
Joey.
Smelly Cat spinoff. That'd be great.
Smelly Cat spinoff. Only he's a techno robot from the future.
Yeah.
That still
Cyborg cat.
smells.
That's actually, a lot of people don't realize that's part of CBS's CBS All Access strategy is you can get Star Trek, which is CBS's Friends, on Netflix, on Hulu. Like you can get it everywhere because what CBS wants is you to get addicted to Star Trek. And then when you want the next Star Trek, you can only get it at CBS All Access.
We are working our way through the Next Generation catalog.
There you go.
Netflix right now.
And CBS don't care where you watch that. They're like, that's fine. We want to get all the money for the back catalog. We make the new things for people who love that back catalog, and they have to come to us for those. All right, let's briefly talk about Comcast set-top boxes becoming more fully featured streaming boxes. They're more and more like a Roku or an Apple TV every day. Amazon's Prime Video, now available for Comcast subscribers with the X1 set-top box. And Xfinity TV customers can now sync their account with Movies Anywhere in order to access movie purchases from the Xfinity digital store. So things you've bought on the digital store will show up in your other Movies Anywhere accounts and vice versa. They're giving away some free movies as an incentive for that. So interesting to see Comcast slowly going to the cord cutter mentality by making the normal set-top box the cord cutter box. And at some point they can just start making that a service, I guess, without cable TV or something and make the transition. I don't know.
Veronica, are you still doing cable?
No.
Okay, so this feels to me like they're yielding to the inevitable, but doing their best to just like, hey, whatever it is you're tempted in the outside world, we've got it here. There's no need to open that door. There could be monsters out there. Who knows?
They should really play up the fear of cord cutting. I think that would be a really good tactic for them. Like they might be doing it accidentally, but I think like really honing in on that and being like, oh, that's really hard. We make it really easy.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All the benefit, none of the fear.
Why go through a horrible telephone conversation to cancel? Just
Why would
stay.
you want to even do? Why would you even want to talk to us? Never talk to us.
That's what they should do. Is they should do a spotlight on their own employees. They're like, this is Doug. He's going through a divorce and he is ornery. His job is customer retention.
Don't talk to Doug.
What's your record? I once went 47 minutes before somebody caved and got their thing canceled. Don't deal with
They
Doug.
ended up paying more.
You can get Prime Video, YouTube, Netflix, all on your Xfinity box right now without having to talk to Doug. All right, let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
I like this tale. It's all about location. Under Surveillance.
So the Deadpool PG-13 is called Once Upon a Deadpool, if you didn't realize that. The Once Upon a Deadpool trailer is out, and it's all about Nickelback and Deadpool defending Nickelback to Fred Savage. And Once Upon a Deadpool comes out December 11th.
I think this whole ad campaign is brilliant. Do you think, or is it clear from these, whether these are actual scenes from the movie or just a independent, awesome ad campaign?
I'm very curious. I'm very curious and confused. I like it. I would watch that movie for sure.
Yeah.
But like, you know, the Princess Bride tie-in, the whole thing, Nickelback jokes, I'm here for it. But I have no idea what it is. I feel like I totally missed the promotional campaign around this. I don't know anything about it other than this ad.
Yeah. And this is how they remind us what Deadpool really is.
Oh, God, Tom, how do you do it every time? How do you?
The Umbrella Academy trailer is out. This is a Netflix series starring Ellen Page. And Veronica, you said it's based on My Chemical Romance?
No, well, it's based on a comic that was written by one of the members of My Chemical Romance.
Okay.
Yes.
It's coming to Netflix February 14th. It looks kind of X-Men-y.
Looks a little dark kind of like X-Men-y, like kind of situation. Yeah, spooky.
It seems to have a few of those surreal aspects that I associate with like Legion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I never saw that.
Oh my goodness. First season's great. Never finished the second.
Yeah.
Netflix has a trailer out for Triple Frontier, which is a drug cartel thriller starring Ben Affleck, Pedro Pascal, Oscar Isaac, and more, coming in March. I'll be honest, this is the first time I've watched a Netflix movie trailer and felt like this looked like a movie I wanted to see in the theaters, and it is getting a limited theater release.
It's got that Charlie Handsome motorcycle guy.
Oh, from Sons of Anarchy. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's where I recognize him from. Got it. Old Charlie Handsome, the motorcycle guy.
I can't pronounce his last name, so he's Charlie Handsome.
This is a job for me. Charlie Handsome, motorcycle guy.
This does look like it could be a movie that just hits a lot of cliches, but it feels like a real movie. I feel like this is a trailer I would see when I'm waiting to watch a movie.
Does Ben Affleck speak in a Southie accent?
Not as such, no.
Too bad.
Also, Pedro Pascal speaks in an American accent.
Oh.
Not a
this is slowly going down.
Not a sand snake accent.
Okay.
A new Captain Marvel trailer came out. Captain Marvel's coming March 8th, 2019. A lot more Captain Marvel in space in this trailer.
Man, this is, I could tell that I've crossed over the threshold. Like there's so much credit in the bank of Marvel in Brian's heart that it's like, wait, why even bother to watch trailers? It's not like I'm not going to go.
We're
March
all going
8th?
to go.
We know where Brian and Veronica will be. And me. What about Avengers Endgame?
I did.
That's coming out April 26th. Did you not watch that trailer?
No, I did, just because I was trying to figure out, I was curious whether or not they would do the, the oblique hinting at stuff or the full-on, like, big reveal stuff. Turns out they were doing the oblique thing. We just see this independent vignette of a sad Tony Stark, who none of us believe for 1 second is actually going to die alone in that spaceship.
Now, a source close to me indicated that a Spider-Man trailer might have been coming out, and we were curious how that was going to work given the events of Avengers Infinity War, especially with an Endgame trailer coming out, and no trailer came out.
Wait, what do you mean? So like a Spider-Man, like a new, not the Miles Morales.
Not the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse trailer, but a Spider-Man Far From Home, I think is the name of it.
Oh.
So how would that have worked?
I'll give you a hint. The opening scene is Peter Parker underneath a big sheet going, "Oh, the afterlife is real."
It's 2016, just so you know.
We know these movies are coming. We know there's going to be another Black Panther movie. Like it's so silly, but we super get into it anyway. I don't care.
Well, and that was part of the genius of Infinity War, is that by essentially couching, they don't reveal it until the very end. You're like, oh, wait, Thanos was the protagonist. They allow us to not really believe that everybody's dead, but, go along with it. It was great.
Yeah. Tired of living like a blind man. New teaser for Stranger Things lists all the episode titles for the new season coming in 2019, and that's it. It's otherwise not a teaser. It's really just a list of all the episode titles. But apparently the last episode takes place in the Battle of Starcourt Mall.
Why are these names references to things? Like, are they like 80s references we're supposed to get?
If I was going to guess, it's like you're at the bookstore, you see there's a new Stranger Things novel, you open it up just to the chapter list, and from that you project or take a guess as to what kind of adventure you're on and buy or don't buy the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. And it just gets everybody speculating because none of them really tell you anything. The sauna test,
right, yeah.
The source, like that doesn't tell you anything.
I'm excited though.
Oh yeah.
By the way, Beatmaster in the chat room says the Spider-Man trailer was shown at a con in Brazil, so maybe there was a Spider-Man. Netflix renewed Narcos Mexico for a second season. It's focused on building a Mexican empire for Felix Gallardo, and of course the foil being DEA agent Kiki Camarena. You're into Narcos Mexico, Brian?
No, I haven't started the first season.
Okay.
I mean, I deeply loved seasons 1 and 2 of Narcos, but fell off in season 3. I probably owe it another watch.
Now, one thing I know all three of us are fans of is The Good Place, which has been renewed for a 4th season.
Huzzah!
Hey!
Yeah, I become that person that won't stop proselytizing for The Good Place. I think they call them Mormons.
So good.
Well, and it just makes me feel like, they have more twists and turns to go. I'm very excited to see that. The next season of Doctor Who will return in 2020. That means technically more, probably, unless they come back on January 1st, 2020, more than a year-long break, because the next episode of Doctor Who is not a Christmas special this year. It's a New Year's Day special. And this season's premiere, by the way, was the biggest, highest rated premiere since the series returned under Chris Eccleston. So it wasn't as big as that very first episode of the return, but it's the second biggest episode since then, and second biggest episode for BBC this year.
That's awesome.
I really liked this season, although I felt like the season finale, while very good, was not better than the beginning of the season. So,
I haven't caught up yet. I'm a season behind, so I need to watch it, which I have time, so that's good.
CBS Chief Creative Officer David Nevins told the 46th Annual UBS Global Media and Communications Conference that CBS will have 2 Star Treks out in 2019, Discovery, which we knew, coming at the beginning of the year, and Picard coming at the end of the year.
Oh my God, dude.
I'm so worried about this.
You know what? We got into this discussion about the announcement of a possible, or of the incoming Cowboy Bebop live action thing, and it's like, whether or not they strike out or hit a home run, I admire them going to the plate, and I would rather live in a universe where they try to capture a bit of that magic than not.
But why? I mean, we've got Discovery, which still is kind of finding its feet, I think, a little bit. And there's like really interesting characters in that show. And I love Picard. I am a Picard girl, 110%. He is my captain forever. But like, I don't know if I need another series about him. I feel like there's new stories to tell. I'm very torn.
So, okay, let me make a pitch, right? Let's assume, what if it was as good? Okay. And again, I'm making all of this up. There's nothing for me to go there. Like, I could picture so many ways that it could be off the wall and amazing. Like, what if he's old and in a nursing home and he periodically plugs his brain into a hollow computer, which is like a holodeck, only it projects his body into different people, and you know it's Picard, and you get to see a bunch of different actors portraying Picard. What if it's like an Orphan Black thing, like or a Black Mirror or whatever? Like, the point is, there are so many insane things that could be good that I'd rather see them try than not try. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to do that.
That's right.
Yeah.
I put my faith in the actor.
Well,
Patrick Stewart is very
actor.
good at picking roles. And I don't know that he would have let them talk him into this if he didn't have faith that this was a story worth telling. So that's where my faith is. I also, when I think of this, this is going to sound stupid. This is what I picture in my head involuntarily. I think it's a black and white series with Picard, like not with Wolverine, but with Picard kind of old and struggling to get by somehow, and it's like a very serious, almost Logan-like take.
I would love that.
Let me just say one more thing. I think that I totally agree with you on Patrick Stewart, like picking roles that are good and being able to say like, I won't do this unless it's awesome. I'm sure it would be a worthwhile story. The question I ask you is, do we need another of that story? Are there not other more worthy or equally worthy stories that come from a different perspective that would be better to tell at this point?
I don't think it's a zero-sum game. I mean, CBS is developing all kinds of things, and I think telling a cool Picard story sounds awesome. I don't think it's a wrong thing to do.
I would say my counterpoint to that question would be, you could ask the exact same thing after 2 Wolverine movies and hearing the rumors of Logan. You could say, do we need another Wolverine movie? And you would have been wrong, because we totally needed Logan. It was the best movie ever.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, if doing Picard prevented another great concept from being made, then you have an argument. And there's an argument that just spending that money on that instead of something else does that. But it's not like CBS is saying, and this is the only Star Trek other than Discovery that we're working on. So to me, it's like, all right, yes, prove to me that this story needed to be told. But Picard is one of, if not the most interesting character in the Star Trek universe.
Absolutely.
To date, anyway.
Okay. I'm just saying, finite amount of resources for promoting this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there's,
that's fair. That's
it
fair.
feels like a safe play.
I do
when
like
they could be putting things towards the new show.
I do like Strike It Rich's comment in the chat that he wants to see Quantum Picard, where he's stuck in a holodeck and he keeps leaping from scenario to scenario, trying to get out to the rest of the starship.
Oh my God, it's stuck in the holodeck series. How about an entirely different story? A new Ghost in the Shell anime is coming to Netflix in 2020, but directed by Shinji Aramaki, who did Appleseed, and Kenji Kamiyama, who did Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. So these are respected people from the anime world working on another Ghost in the Shell series, which this is not the first time there's been an expansion of the Ghost in the Shell universe. So it feels a little bit, and Bryce, I'm curious your take on this, like it's just Netflix providing the funds for what probably would have happened anyway.
Yeah, and Ghost in the Shell has both had movies and series about it, which take on different arcs. I think it's a great pickup. I know we've been talking a lot about, we talked about Cowboy Bebop earlier in this episode and last week, but I think this is like a real straightforward, we're going to keep doing more Ghost in the Shell. And I think that world is super open for more stories. I mean, a procedural in a sci-fi android world. I mean, that's great. Or cyborg.
Yeah. And available worldwide, I assume. I don't know about Japan. They might have a different distribution deal in Japan. Because like Terrace House is a Netflix original even in Japan, but it also shows on Fuji Television. So I don't know if there's things like that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Hulu, for its part, struck a multi-year deal with Funimation for first look streaming rights to anime series produced and released by Funimation starting in 2019. Hulu and Funimation will be the co-exclusive premiere outlets for key subtitled anime titles. So they won't not show up on Funimation. They'll just also show up on Hulu.
That seems like a pretty good get for Hulu, especially in this area that I don't perceive they have a strong foothold in.
Well, and it's perfect timing because Funimation just broke up with Crunchyroll.
Oh, that's right.
And so both of those companies, I'm sure, are looking, because wasn't it Crunchyroll that made a deal with Netflix recently? Am I thinking?
Maybe I thought it was a production studio, not Crunchyroll itself, but I may be confused.
But there's the breakup of those two means that there's a lot of resources willing to go somewhere that is not between these two kind of juggernauts of anime right now.
So Crunchyroll has been around longer than Hulu, right?
I perceive that to be the case. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'll go look into
So Funimation left Crunchyroll for a younger companion.
Oh, you.
Oh, Jesus.
It's an old story. All right, let's talk about what we've had our eyes on. Something you watched recently that you loved. Veronica, what is it?
I really loved Quincy, the Quincy Jones documentary on Netflix.
Oh, I thought you meant the Jack Klugman medical examiner series.
No.
So you give it a thumbs up. Is that on Netflix?
It is, yes. And it's directed by Rashida Jones, his daughter, and another gentleman whose name I don't know because he's not Rashida Jones, unfortunately. Sorry, that sounded really dismissive. I just don't know his name. And it's
directed by Rashida Jones and not Rashida Jones.
And someone else who is not Rashida Jones.
Which is how we define all people.
Yes. But it's really good. I mean, so weirdly though, I actually know someone who kind of grew up around Quincy Jones, and he says they kind of left out, like they hint in the documentary that he's had like struggles with alcohol throughout the years. And that was one of the reasons why he had some health issues within the last few. But apparently that was like a lot more part of the story, and they kind of, it's a much more positive viewing. But he is just so phenomenal and has done so many amazing things with his career. It's really inspirational.
I had heard that it was, I don't know, viewed with a soft lens, and like you wouldn't expect anything else from his daughter doing a biopic on him,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair if it's the daughter's take. By the way, we have a musician on the DTNS Listeners Co-host show that will play between Christmas and New Year's, who is produced by Quincy Jones, and he tells a story about Quincy Jones on that episode.
Well, that's awesome.
If you're a Daily Tech News show,
a little bit. What kind of film did you say it was, Brian?
What? Who, me?
Yeah.
What
it's a Quincy Jones what?
I said biopic. Isn't that what you say about a movie that's about someone else?
Might call it a biopic.
Oh, is that the pronunciation? Is that the pronunciation? I'm sorry, I put emphasis on the wrong syllables sometimes.
Listen, Veronica, Brian's being treated for biopia. Okay, so It'll be all right.
I'm going to have a biopsy on my brain.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you.
No, apparently that's well earned.
Anything else that you want to mention, Veronica?
Let's see. I've been watching the new show on Amazon Prime about the comedians. I'm forgetting its name right now because I scrolled too far.
Inside Jokes?
No.
Inside Jokes from the Just for Laughs Festival?
Inside Jokes. Thank you. Yes. And that is phenomenal. I just kind of started watching it because I was going through infinite scroll and I couldn't land on anything. And then I was like, oh, I like stand-up comedy. I'll check this out. And I think I watched the first 3 episodes, and it's all about these comedians who are vying for a spot on the Just for Laughs Festival, which is the biggest stand-up comedy festival in the world. It takes place every year in Montreal. And so you try out, and then if you get a call back, you have to do your same set again with another minute and a half added, I think. And so right now, all of the comedians are getting their callbacks or not, and basically finding out whether or not they're going to the festival. But every big comedian you've ever heard of has been in the Just for Laughs Festival in the showcase. So it's a really big deal. It's like a career maker, basically.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's a pretty good one for sure.
Brian, what's been filling up your eyeballs?
You know what? All the usual suspects. We'll talk about it in spoiler in time. Counterpart Gently, The Good Place. But most importantly, guess what came to Hulu? That's right. It's Sorry to Bother You. We've talked about it before. If you've not seen it, now's your chance. Go watch it, not knowing a dang thing about it.
I'm going to mention It's a Wonderful Life. It's that time of year. Everybody watches it. NBC always shows it a couple of times at least. But I watched it for Current Geek. We're doing a Current Geek Film Festival where we watch one of the greatest films of all time once a month. And we finally got to this place on the list, and it just happened to sync up with the holidays. So it's perfect. Man, does that movie hold up? I haven't watched it in years. And I was like, oh, it'll be fine. I'll watch it, whatever. I was even trying to cook breakfast while I'm watching it. It is surprising. And I've had this feeling with some of these movies we've watched on this list, which is, I guess, why they're considered some of the greatest movies, how timeless it can be while still being dated. How Frank Capra was just a genius at capturing the way people really talk and interact. So there's, sexy innuendo without violating the censors, but in a way that plays as if it's real, messing around between two people who are like, well, I don't want to say, but guess what? So that's not the only example. So if you're overdone on It's a Wonderful Life, I get it. It can be shoved down your throat too much. But if you haven't watched it in 5-10 years, it's worth a watch.
I think you just inspired me to show my kids. I get to do one of those sorry kids,
idea.
you're gonna have to eat your vegetables. And
on Current Geek, we're going to talk about all the fact that it was pretty much a failure when it came out, because they put it out in wide release in January, even though it's a Christmas movie. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, they were talking about that in they were talking about is that the one we were talking about in Sword and Laser too in the forums?
Oh, about it being a genre movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's been Tom has spread a lot of conversation around the podcasting world about It's a Wonderful Life. How it fits in.
That was in it before I'd even watched it. We had that story where I think it was IO9 did a column arguing that It's a Wonderful Life is if not sci-fi, certainly fantasy, but definitely a genre film, because there's angels and alternate realities.
I never thought about before.
Yeah. All right, Bryce, what should we be on the lookout for?
Hey, we got a pick from Bill. He writes, don't know if you watched Deutschland 83 when it aired a couple years ago, but the sequel season/series Deutschland 86 is finally coming back on October 25th. So this was a couple weeks back. From the titles, you can tell the show jumps ahead 3 years in time from the end of the first series. The show is about a young East German border guard who gets recruited to be a deep cover agent in the West German army. He, of course, gets in over his head, and then there's all the cultural tropes, such as the music and the availability of consumer items. The show is really good, and I'm looking forward to the sequel. I think it pairs well with Stars' counterpart. This is from Bill in Southwest Florida. Thank you, Bill. So Deutschland 86 is airing now in America on Sundance TV, and Deutschland 83 is streaming on Hulu, and a third season, Deutschland 89, has been confirmed. As far as streaming, if you are international, this is all over the place. In England, 83 is on Amazon Prime. In Germany, 83 and 86 are on Amazon Prime. In Canada, it's on Crave. In France, it's on a completely different thing. So I always recommend go to justwatch.com and you can type in you can look up based on your country. You can look up the titles and see where the stuff is streaming or where you can buy it, because this one's kind of all over the place. But thank you so much, Bill, for the pick.
If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. I got two things I got to talk about on our little moment here. First of all, I'm very excited. Tom Merritt and Molly Wood are podcasting together again.
What?
I rarely refer to myself in the third person, but in this case, I had to. We're bringing back our show, It's a Thing, which is an attempt, and I think it was successful in its first run, for Molly and I to do what Molly and I did best on the show Buzz Out Loud, which is just talk about stuff and riff off of each other. And if that sounds great to you, go and resubscribe if you're not still subscribed from 5 years ago, and support us on Patreon. You can get an ad-free version at patreon.com/itsAthing. I also would be remiss if I didn't remind you, as I have many times, that there is an audiobook for my novel Gallium out that is read by this fine lady right here, Ms. Veronica Belmont, to great reviews.
No, she did a fantastic job. I think she really elevated the otherwise adequate text. Sorry. Boy, that was a tough one to land because I realized I set it up and I was just like, how friendly do I land this?
Adequate.
I mean, there are words, but they sound really like good words.
But they're really elevated by Veronica's performances.
Because they were so adequate is what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
I like to say I only sounded so good because I had such good words to read.
There we go. She knows how to do it.
Anyway, if you want to check it out, that's at tomsnewbook.com. So it's a thing.me, tomsnewbook.com. Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
Did you know that YouTube reaches 85% of all internet users in India? By reaches, that means that they visit it. 60% of YouTube's traffic in India comes from outside its 6 major cities because YouTube has a lightweight version that you can get on a lot more phones. YouTube is bigger than Google in India. Google's biggest business in India is YouTube, not the search engine. In Thailand, YouTube reaches 92% of rural users and 93% of urban users. Traffic has risen 50% for YouTube in the last year in Indonesia to 74 million active users per month. Of all the users who watch any streaming service in the US, 96.1% consume YouTube, 73.8% consume Netflix. So it's not just those parts of the globe, it's worldwide. We don't give YouTube enough credit for being the biggest online video provider. And I think what caught my eye about this study, Brian, is we're often talking about YouTube Premium and YouTube Red and YouTube Originals. I never thought about it in the respect that YouTube has to compete with everything else on its platform.
On the internet.
Whereas Netflix puts a thing out and that's just against other Netflix stuff. YouTube's competing with all these other creators that have made it the most ridiculously large platform in the world.
That's a really good way to put it. I think there's I'm gonna overgeneralize here, and I think there are 3 kind of main categories. We tend to talk about YouTube as a home for entertainment, and that certainly is that. But it's also the greatest library of instructional tutorials in the history of mankind, full stop. It is also the town hall for discussion and debate for the world. And yes, of course, we can hurl barbs at each other on Twitter, or we can make a post that nobody reads on Facebook. But if you want to make a point and stand behind it, then you're going to want to do it in a little 5 to 15 minute vignette on YouTube. Does that track with you, Veronica?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. It's the first platform, I think, that people consider when posting content like that. I mean, it's always like, oh, we'll put it on YouTube, and then what other places are we going to put it? So I think that's kind of like, it's basically the gold standard for educational content at this point, which is kind of difficult, though, because sometimes their algorithms can be a little bit tricky with that kind of stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, and that's why the light gets shined on those algorithms, because it has such an effect, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the Golden Globes TV nominees included 10 for FX, including Atlanta, Americans, and Pose. Unless that's pronounced Posse, you'll have to tell me.
P-O-S-E,
Okay.
Pose has a posse.
I'm just asking Veronica just to make sure.
I know, and now I've given you a complex. I'm sorry.
Nine?
I'm the one who usually mispronounces everything, so I understand.
9 for HBO, including Barry and Sharp Objects. And Prime Video has Miss Maisel Homecoming, a very English scandal. 8 for Netflix. Though Netflix, including Bodyguard, Ozark, Glow, The Kaminsky Method, also got 5 movie nominations, including Roma, Girl, Dumplin', for a total of 13. Hulu only got 2 for The Handmaid's Tale. How about this, Tom? We live in a world where we're able to say Hulu, quote, only got 2 nominations.
Yeah. Netflix only got 8 nominations, but really it's 13 if you count their movie nominations, right? Like, yeah, it's all starting to blend together. I find it interesting that FX leads the way with shows that feel like cord cutter shows, like Atlanta and Americans, because you can still find them elsewhere, like Hulu and places like that. And you know, I'm waiting for the day when FX and AMC finally make the full jump from saying, hey, you can pay a little extra on top of your cable subscription for commercial free on the app to just selling you access to the app.
Yeah, or just putting them on, I don't know. I struggle with that because I hardly watch any TV anymore unless it's streaming somewhere, because I don't have cable. So it's like the only way I can watch this content. And I'm just like, just put it directly on the apps now. Just pick a partner and just go for it. Yep. Maybe it's an advertising thing. I'm not sure, but I feel like that's the way it's going to go eventually.
Well, fellow millennials, you'll be very happy to know that you can now pay for Hulu with Venmo if you sign up through the website. That option will come to existing subscribers soon. Right now, it's just new subscribers.
Hold on. I've got millennials on the line. They take issue with you calling them fellow millennials.
What?
As you are very Gen X. Yeah. Oh, no.
I self-identify as much younger. That's not even true, actually. I self-identify as older.
Cusp, and I still identify as older. I don't like being a millennial.
You're not Gen X, though. I'm sorry.
Oh, wow. Oh, there. Oh, that's right. That's a very Gen X thing for us to not be inclusive like that.
Thank you for picking up on that.
I'm an old soul.
You're honorary Gen X, okay? We'll make you honorary.
Starting January 1st, the Zombie, that is MoviePass, will have new plans. The $10 a month plan is similar to the current one with restrictions on which movies you can see on which days. $15 a month removes the restrictions, and $20 a month includes one IMAX or 3D movie a month. Ooh, and if you're very good, you get candy. Also, in some markets... Also, in some markets, these plans will be more expensive, up to $15, $20, and $25 for each tier. Also, Executive Vice President Khalid Atumwil will take over day-to-day duties from CEO Mitch Lowe, who will focus on long-term strategy.
To fix my spelling mistakes before you read them, Brian.
It's not Atumwil. It's okay.
This is really interesting. I read an article today about subscription services and how prevalent they are now, and how, you know, even though MoviePass was really the first to this in the movie world, you know, they've obviously had a lot of trouble. Their stock price is terrible. They're trying to figure it out, as you can see. But it actually, even though AMC's A-list system is being successful and actually earning money for them, and it's doing very well, they had a really hard time getting their board to get on board with the idea because of the failure of MoviePass. So even though they had like this whole like idea of how the AMC A-lister program was going to work, they showed how it would be profitable, and it's a very different number of movies that you can see and all this stuff, the people in charge were like, ooh, but like MoviePass did really bad. Like, do we really want to put all our eggs in this basket? I'm an A-lister on AMC, and I love it. Like, I use it all the time. But it was that cohort of users for MoviePass that really abused it, that made it that there were more people who wanted to see movies more often than they expected.
Yeah, well, and they marketed towards people who like to hack the system, basically. Like, yeah, what did they expect? The Fire TV Cube just got the Alexa announcements feature, which lets you tell an Echo to broadcast your message to all the Echoes in the house, or now to or from your Cube. So you could make your Fire TV Cube say stuff.
How many A-word devices do you have to have before that becomes useful? Like right now, I can shout it from one to the other, and it would...
most people have more than one, and usually around 3 or 4.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, that's crazy. Like
once you're in the tier, like when I say most people, I mean most people who even have one, not all people. But once you get one, most people will expand to having a few.
Could I do it remotely from the app? Is that like if I'm out and about, can I pretend to be a ghost?
home.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you
right.
can't. It's stupid. I don't know why, but you can't. No.
That seems like the easiest thing and so valuable.
But the
idea drop-in system too, I still haven't really figured out. But I like sometimes I'll just drop in on my friends, and they find it very disturbing.
Oh, that's right, the drop-in.
Yeah.
Rydar Lystad of the Australian Institute of Health Innovation at Macquarie University in Sydney. G'day, mate. And his colleague Benjamin Brown have written a paper from the journal Injury Epidemiology. I swear to God, Tom. Studying the survival factor of the 154 characters in Game of Thrones out of 3,330 total who have not died.
That's just 330.
Oh, total. Okay.
Feels like it though, huh?
So basically, we have a little less than half of them surviving. Among the factors in survival are being highborn female and forging unusual alliances or switching them. That's kind of fun as far as a commentary on what the meta narratives of the entire story is.
Yeah, I thought, this is one of those fun, like, this is a little bit of a lark to show how epidemiological theories might work when applied to a fun data set like Game of Thrones. But also for Game of Thrones fans, it's really interesting to see just how many people die. Like you weren't joking when you're like, wow, it seems like everybody dies. Most people die on Game of Thrones. Most characters, like more than 50%.
Wow. Tough times.
Yeah, tough times in Westeros.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our dispatches from the front. I love this question from Mel. Mel wrote in and said, just curious, how do you watch series? Do you binge entire series or do you switch series after watching a season of a show? Ooh. Also, and I think this informs why Mel might be asking this, I wish Netflix or Amazon would come up with a feature where you could make up your own primetime schedule and have shows autoplay the next show that you have in your queue. I think that'd be nice. What do you think?
I'd be down for it, provided I didn't have to set it up. That's the only way to get me in. Otherwise, I have a tendency to binge up until, if it's current time, then depending on the type of entertainment it is, I dig being part of the cultural gestalt, like the moment like we're experiencing with The Good Place right now. It's really fun to be in the know and know how much fun The Good Place is. And then you get to proselytize and, you got to hurry up. The new episodes is amazing. I dig that. What about you, Veronica? Same thing?
Yeah, like you. Yeah. I was pointing. I just pointed the wrong way.
I always watch all of a series. I don't stop between seasons and go to other things.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I think that is the way to go. But I follow on to what Brian does, which is once I catch up on that series and I start to continue with that series in real time. But I will not jump around between series unless... I can't imagine why I would do that. Yeah.
You know where I do
I'm
stop
a completionist.
on seasons though is reality shows. I've been very slowly working through Top Chef and I can't mainline.
Oh, you can't do week after week.
No, I couldn't because like those shows are long and really drawn out and one after another. It's too dense to go from a finale to immediately to the next season. I need like a day or so between.
As an experiment, maybe I should go back and try getting back into The Prophet again, because maybe, going all in a row gave it a bit of an upgrade.
Yeah, that's true. It's been a while since we watched that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Dino writes, your conversation about streaming watch parties on Facebook reminded me that this was a thing on Xbox years and years ago. The Xbox 360 Netflix app had a built-in system called Party Mode, where your Xbox party could all watch the same movie at the same time. Movie played on an MST3K style frame with party members' Xbox avatars sitting in a row at the bottom of the screen. I remember having a ton of fun watching movies with my friends this way and being sad when Netflix discontinued Party Mode in around 2011, ? Maybe with Facebook trying out a similar similar idea. It's time for party mode to make a comeback. Thanks, Dino. Man, I do remember that, and I thought that was a great idea at the time.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was a great idea too. I never got a chance to use it too frequently, but I was super into the concept and I wish it was still around.
I think you couldn't have explained better why this concept will never pick up, no matter who tries it. Because people are really into the concept and then they don't do it. And I don't know why.
Because we're not ever available at the same time. It's hard enough to get people in your regular life to like sync up, but like watching a show with you, Tom, like I don't know what your schedule is. Like I guess, or what you're watching this week or what you want to watch. Like you have to build in plans.
You know what I think could work is if not one human being, but instead just the algorithm just announced. And again, this is where you get into that creepy Facebook stuff. What if you're just on Facebook and it says, hey, in 5 minutes, these people are all going to watch a movie. Are you in or not? And it's like, well, crap. Okay, yes, I'll do it. You don't have to stay. You want that party planner organizer person, right?
Yeah, maybe. There's also people who don't like to have other people talk while they're watching something, which obviates the whole point of this, right? Like, why are you watching it with them if you're not chatting about it while you watch?
Yeah, they would have to be the right kind of content for sure.
Yeah. Vicky said, hey, Tom and Brian, I was just listening to the episode discussing TV watching threads on Facebook, and Brian mentioned Reddit. I follow Liverpool FC, and each match has match threads concurrent with the game. Other EPL teams do the same thing, and I suspect the same would apply to other sports. It's a great way to watch, and the voting aspect works well, though we tend to have the thread to show the comments based on new in order to keep up with the play. I used to do this on the Alberto's website, Viva Alberto's. It was what's that? It's the Vox owned sports network of blogs.
SB Nation.
I used to watch Cardinals games that way. It's really fun.
SB Nation, yeah.
SB Nation.
Steven hit us up with an interesting idea. He says that as an avid online gamer, he thinks it'd be cool to watch streaming shows with his friends while playing their game of choice. For example, while in World of Warcraft or Guild Wars 2, everyone goes to a central location in-game to watch, like an old school drive-in theater. There'd be an outdoor theater set up in the game that we could all watch and chat while in character. That sounds hilarious and fun. I would love to see that at least as an experiment.
Yeah, I guess how would you... So you would be in game and you would watch someone playing while you were like in game?
You would be in game and there would be a big maybe some orcs come over and build a big screen, and then everybody gathers in. You see all the avatars with all the names floating above their heads. Everybody jockeys for position so that they can get a good seat, and then all of a sudden the previews start and a bunch of text bubbles come up like, the movie's starting, this is great.
Yeah, I used
and then
to do
the movie
that
plays.
in Second Life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. So go into Second Life. You can do it right now.
Still around.
It's still around. Yeah. Finally, Alan said, I think a lot of the resistance to a live action version of anime is similar to that for live action version of video games. Big budget, mostly American studios have yet to do it successfully, so their track record makes fans wary. No one wants to see their beloved character warped by some Hollywood producer's idea of what sells a movie. I also think that movies inspired by ideas from anime are not the same as movies that are live action versions of anime. The Matrix, it may have been inspired by Ghost in the Shell and resulted in a good movie, but the actual live action Ghost in the Shell, not so much. Once we see a good live action version of an anime series, then maybe people will welcome them more.
What about that movie that's coming out that looks so awesome?
Alita Battle Angel.
Alita, yeah.
That sounds...
What about it?
Really amazing.
Maybe it will be good.
I hope so. I just want to know what the anime fans think of it, because it's apparently a very famous anime. That's not my area of expertise, but I saw the trailers for it a few times and it looks amazing to me.
They also kept pushing the release date of it. So
oh, really?
I don't know if
that's usually a sign.
I don't know what that means.
Well, actually, I was going to make a joke about that being a bad sign, but that's not necessarily. But sometimes you push it because it's tracking so well. You want to take advantage of a bigger audience.
Yeah, true. Well, Veronica, thank you so much for joining us again. As always, where can people find more of what you do?
Oh, boy. Well, if you want to follow me in the podcast world, swordandlaser.com. We're always happy to have you over there. And for worky stuff, I'm a PM over at Adobe for Spark. That's at spark.adobe.com. So, yeah, check it out and let me know what you think.
PM, of course, means Prime Minister. She's the
Yes.
Prime Minister of Adobe.
Yes, I am. No, I'm not.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, also on diamondclub.tv, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll see you again next time.
Hey guys, Brian and Tom here, and it's just the same old message at the end of the credits, just like always.
That's right, Brian. Nothing new here except your name showing up.
Oh my gosh,
because
I've
you
got a
just
name.
supported us on Patreon.
Yeah, all those $5 donors, look at that. That's your name in pixels. We're gonna make you famous, kid. Put your
There's
name in
some
pixels on
classic
the internet.
names in there, but some of you are new. Some of you aren't there. It's sad. What can they do, Brian?
I mean, they could go to patreon.com/Cordkillers and pledge $5 an episode and be one of these amazing people, like this one.
Amazing.
Oh, look at that name right there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.